Alright everybody, welcome back. It's time for game number 2 between Axslav and Catz in the HD World Tournament, and this is once again in the round of 16. Winner of this game will advance forward to play, I believe, the winner of In Control versus Zelnick. I might be wrong about that, and I believe that In Control did win that game, so I might be wrong. I haven't looked at the brackets before this game. I'm going off the top of my memory, which these days has kind of been a little bit bad. Let me tell you guys one thing: sleeping too much does not help your memory at all. It actually really it does the opposite of what people say it should. But anyways, last game, an incredible game. What the heck just happened? My mind was blown by the hatchery inside the proxy hatchery inside of Axslav's base. It was beautiful, but the one thing that didn't really work was the fact that the hatchery was actually spotted by Axslav, and we did actually see Axslav mentioning that at the beginning of the game. He said, you know, you put your hatchery in vision of my base, and I was able to see it. So that kind of screwed up the build a little bit, because Catz, I think it was depending on the fact that the hatchery would not be spotted in time, and since Axslav saw it, he was able to get a photon cannon up there very, very quickly. Now, here we are in game number 2. Loser picked the next map. Catz has decided to pick Shattered Temple, which is the new map, the kind of the remake of Lost Temple, and it's actually a little bit more balanced, I would say, for Zerg versus Terran. Doesn't really make too much of a difference for Zerg versus Protoss, although in a couple of games versus Dopa, which I guess some of you guys see him as my arch rival, a Protoss player can go ahead and use that ledge. They can drop photon cannons. They can use Blink Stalkers very, very nicely, along with the Warp Prism, and it's kind of a play that works really, really well. But it's not a very popular build. I don't see a lot of Protoss players do it. But nonetheless, this is Shattered Temple. It's a little bit of a different change compared to Lost Temple. We have now rocks that lead to this kind of backside island rather than having to drop over there for Zerg, which is actually nicer for Zerg, as you can just bust in those rocks really easily right here and then grab that expansion to the bottom right hand corner. And likewise for Axslav, he has his own kind of a rocky expo over here to the top left as well. Now, it looks like this game Axslav will not be going for 14 Nexus, and I do like that decision because, you know, this map is a little bit smaller. Oh, who am I kidding? It's a lot smaller than Tal'Darim Altar. And because of the distance decrease from base to base, it's really, really quite risky going for that 14 Nexus. And I mean, you know, this massive choke point right here, it's about 2 times larger than the choke on Tal'Darim Altar to cover. So really, it's not a wise idea to try to go for that 14 Nexus, and I like what Axslav's done. He's gone for a basic opening. Catz, meanwhile, it looks like he's gone for hatch first, I would say, and he's got gas coming before pool. So it looks like he's gonna, yeah, well, he's gonna have a pretty good economy, and he's gonna have speed coming fairly soon, I would imagine. Perhaps he's gonna save up his gas though to get roaches, but it doesn't look to be the case. I could be wrong. We'll see what Catz tries to do. Meanwhile, Axslav throwing down his second gateway at the front, not actually throwing down his cybernetics core as most Protoss players do. And Catz has actually seen the second gateway, which is, this is kind of a peculiar timing for a second gateway, unless Catz is going to go for a 3-gate into Expo, which I guess seems to be the case here, but a sentry popping out first. So yeah, with this first sentry popping out, this says a lot of things about the Protoss build order. If you're ever confused as a Zerg, if you see a sentry popping out first, it is normally for a fast expansion for the Protoss player, usually 3-gate into Expo, because Protoss players need those sentries for building up energy for force fields, and you need to build those sentries really, really early. So there you guys see the Nexus coming up now. And if you guys see a Stalker coming out first, then it usually means, it typically means it's going to be some kind of a 4-gate, because obviously the Stalker is a much more heavy hitter than the sentry is. So kind of a little thing that players can use at the extremely high level of StarCraft 2, and something that I've used from time to time when I play on ladder, which I need to get my butt on. I haven't played ladder for a very long time, so I'm quite rusty myself. But it looks like Catz now realizing that there is going to be a Nexus going up, probe coming inside the main. He will be able to take out that probe shortly. And if he didn't know the Nexus was coming up, he does have an Overlord back here, and he does have vision of that warping in of the Nexus, so he should know that indeed there is a Nexus coming up. And if we pull up that income tab, we should see Catz ahead in economy, and indeed he is 34 over 27, and production should primarily be on drones at this point in the game. There you guys see mostly drones being produced, a couple of Zerglings just in case, and a spine crawler as well, because Catz just doesn't want to get caught outside of his pants and outside of his clothes, as I was when he built that hatchery. He just doesn't want to get surprised by an all-out sentry attack, which is possible, but it's very risky, obviously, for Axslav, because there's a chance right now that Catz has Zerglings on the map and they can run inside the main. So obviously both these players kind of playing against each other's mindset, playing the build that has been so standard for them, and not wanting to risk any movement right now that could cost them the game. But right now Axslav is really making a ton of sentries. He's got a lot out right now, guys. And one thing that Protoss players have learned from the last GSL finals was OGS MC and his ability to use these Protoss force fields, which are insane. I mean, when I say insane, they are just crazy, crazy good. I might be confused. It might be I am MVP. I'm not exactly sure right now. My memory, like I said, guys, not the best. But these force fields for Protoss players, very, very good against Zerg. And it looks like Axslav may be gearing to move out here with a very, very large sentry force. And sentries are fairly good against roaches because they can force field the roaches out of range. Here we go, guys. Axslav throwing up a pylon, force fielding these two roaches so they cannot escape. Sentry combined firepower, taking out those two roaches. More force fields being laid down. And Catz here, oh my god, he could be in a lot of trouble. He's making 5 roaches right now along with Burrow. And Burrow is going to be absolutely vital because you can burrow roaches underneath the force field and get out of harm's way. It looks like, though, Catz has just enough roaches and Zerglings to fend off this attack. But with 4 stalkers and 2 zealots warping in here, Axslav is essentially gone for a 6 gate. Does he have 6? Yes, he does. He has 6 warp gates inside his main. He's gone for the 3 gate into Nexus into a 6 gate, which is a very heavy Protoss aggressive build order. And unless Catz can hold this off, he could be in a lot of trouble, guys. It looks like Axslav will be falling back to his pylon here, but really falling back to the pylon means, hello, 6 more reinforcing units. And Catz is in a bit of trouble. He needs more roaches, guys, and he needs a nice mixture right now. Roaches along with Zerglings. If he can get Burrow in time, that would be great as well. And use this spine crawler. He needs a spine crawler for defense as well. But the one thing, though, that Catz does not want to allow is Axslav to get to this line. If he gets here, a force field 100% will be laid down on the ramp, and that will cause huge amounts of trouble for Catz. But it looks like Axslav has decided to fall back. So after doing some aggression, Axslav says, okay, I think I've done enough damage simply by making my presence known to Catz, and now I'm going to go ahead and fall back and take out the rocks to my backside expansion. So Axslav here is going to gear up for a more macro style game right now, as Catz is also doing the same, but at the moment Catz is going for what seems to be the gold expansion, and he's also throwing up an auxiliary hatch down below his natural. So I think right now Catz is looking pretty good, guys. Unlike game number 1, Catz has fended off the 6 gate aggression. He has a good number of bases to deal with the Protoss right now, and I think if we pull up that army tab, it looks like Catz is ahead in both army and worker supply. So Catz is looking really good this game, guys. He's got map control as well, and look at this. He is going to try to bust through the backside of the Protoss base, and this is one thing that Protoss players, in fact, all players need to be very, very careful of, and Axslav has no vision of the rocks. He does not realize the roaches and speedlings, which are about to stream into his main, excuse me, into his third. This is not his main. And this could be very deadly. It looks like Catz not going to commit the roaches, just going to send the speedlings in, which I do like that strategy. The speedlings can do quite a bit of damage. They may be even going to be able to take out the Nexus. The Nexus at 250, 150, 150. It is not going to go down. Axslav laying down force field, saves the Nexus at the last second. And bear in mind, oh my god, now Catz burrowing his Zerglings. He wants to finish off this Nexus so badly, but he realizes with the shields continuing to generate up as the Nexus is continuing to warp in, that will be impossible. I just want to call to you guys' attention right there. Axslav could have canceled that Nexus to refund his 300 minerals, but he realized he basically played it on a gamble, but he kind of realized in his head, you know what, I can save this Nexus, I can do it. I don't want to lose the warp in time. It's already been warping in for about 30 seconds. I don't want to lose that time, so crucial at this high level of play. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna land down those force fields, and that indeed he did. And what a brilliant maneuver by Axslav to save his Nexus. And that is absolutely huge, because now Catz, it's 3 base to 3 base, and Catz will have to grab a 4th base, and it looks like Catz gonna scramble to get that up as he busts down his own backdoor rocks. I do want to also call to you guys' attention, nice burrowing of the Zerglings. This one not burrowed, actually. But nice burrow right here, prevents the Nexus from being laid, well, doesn't exactly prevent the Nexus, excuse me, but it will give Catz vision. And he also has very good creep tumor spread right here, spreading 2x2 from his natural almost all the way over to the main, to the natural of Axslav, excuse me. Very, very nice creep spread by Catz indeed. And right now, if we go over to Axslav's main, it looks like he is focusing on getting, he's already got Blink for his Stalkers. He's going to get Immortals as well. And as the Overseer kind of lumbers his way in there, he's going to see, all right, Twilight Council doesn't exactly see the robotics facility, but Catz should be wary of the potential possibility of Dark Templars, something that Protoss players can use towards the mid to late game. And oftentimes a good counter for that is just building Spine Crawlers and Spores at every single expansion. Right now, it looks like Catz may actually try to bust through once again, but Axslav has erected an artificial backdoor protective wall here with warp gates and photon cannons. My god, this is so genius by Axslav, which is going to buy him time to bring his forces over, and that will be enough to protect this backdoor. And uh-oh, Catz, be careful, don't get force fielded in. Catz here losing a couple roaches, will burrow that roach, but does not save it in time. So that could have been a little costly right there by Catz, but luckily he was able to get his roaches out of the way. And right now we do actually have an infestation pit coming out, as well as Hydralisks. And this is one thing that I do like right now for Catz. I guess he's sufficiently scouted the Protoss main to realize that right now there is no Dark Shrine. As you guys can see, no Dark Shrine anywhere, just a Twilight Council. And Roach Hydra is going to be beautiful against Stalker Immortal. That really is the best composition of units I can think of to deal with this. And, you know, if you can get up to Hive, that would be even nicer. We do now have Dark Shrine coming out. And the reason why I say Hydra's going to work so well is because there's no Colossus. No Colossus means Hydralis, with their measly 80 HP, can do their whopping amount of damage and not die. So this is going to be huge. I think Axslav has a great army composition to deal with this. If we pull up the army tabs, in fact, if we just look to the top right, we can see Axslav closing in on Catz, but Catz is now pretty much maxed. And if we pull up the income tab, we can see that both players really, really high up there. In fact, Axslav may have a slight advantage with 81 over 66. And so this is getting to that late game where both players are just banking their resources and waiting for the eventual conflict to occur. Catz now getting up to Hive Tech. I do like that. I guess we're going to see some Hive units coming out soon. Catz also, why not throw away some of your minerals and get some Spine Crawlers? I mean, hey, you never know when you need to fall back to your creep in the middle. And it looks like now Catz is going to engage. Has to be careful though. Those force fields can be very deadly. Some of them getting laid down right there, but there's a lot of roaches and Hydras. These roaches in the front though need to burrow. Burrow, Catz, burrow, get out of there. No. The General Catz decides to give the order to either go in and don't run. I don't want to see you if you're gonna come out. I want you to go in and die, and pretty much lost about 8 or 9 roaches there. And I can tell now why Catz has roaches that are scared and just kind of hide and don't want to fight, because man, Catz is ruthless with his roaches. He does not give them any mercy. But right now he's got a very nice contain outside of the gold expansion of Axslav. Keep in mind though, Axslav does not have the gold quite yet. And this is really nice. This is basically making it very difficult for Axslav to safely grab that gold. A ton of speedlings now as well. We now have Greater Spire on the way on that production tab. Colossus also starting to be produced. And this is just kind of on a very, very, very thin knife of balance right now. Either player can come out of this conflict ahead with a much larger army count, and it really can go either way at this moment in the game. I'm surprised that we haven't really seen any Dark Templar, although Catz is morphing an Overseer at his army right here anyways. But we do have a pretty massive engagement as the Roaches and Hydras are engaging the Stalkers and the Immortals. One of the Colossus gets picked out towards the north, as Axslav Colossus are actually cut off from the main army. Very, very nice play. Finally, though, Catz deciding to fall back. He's going to bring all of his roaches and hydras back home. Surprisingly, no Dark Templars being warped in. I don't think I've seen any DTs, at least. Would have been nice for Axslav to bring some DTs and just gonna go ahead and warp him in and bring him over to the expansions, but not exactly the case. And keep in mind, Catz only has a single spore, which is really out of range. Every single spore colony, a spore crawler, in fact, really out of range to defend from Dark Templars. But nonetheless, Axslav here moving out with what seems to be a very large army. At the same time, we do have Broodlords being made here, guys. 2 Broodlords on the way. There we go. Oh my god. Catz has gotten the ultimate weapon in the Zerg arsenal. Well, besides the Ultralisk, this is the ultimate weapon in the air, I suppose. The Broodlord, very, very powerful. Axslav going down here to pick off the expansion that is not even there. So he is going to actually now go for the rocks. Does Catz realize? Yes, Catz does see the forces over here. He's gonna bring those nasty Broodlords over. Those Broodlords are gonna be able to do so much damage to this army, and Axslav has absolutely nothing to deal with Broodlords. He's trying to get Stargate and Templar Archives. Templar Archives, I don't know if this is the right unit right now. Sidestorm not so good against Broodlords, but Void Rays are. And here we go. It looks like this expansion may be picked off. Stalkers blinking in to pick off the Broodlords, which are in the front and exposed. 3 out of 5 of the Broodlords just went down. Make it 4. Catz just lost a ton of his Broodlords because of his army positioning, and of course his Hydras are just too slow to get in range to protect those Broodlords that were in the front. And as a result, Catz losing the expansion at the bottom right. Axslav now capitalizing by taking an expansion over here, but Catz also seeing, hey, I know what's going on. I'm going to bring that Zergling in there to do some damage. Auxiliary Hatch, meanwhile, and the 2 Evo Chambers kind of providing a bit of a blockade. But right now, Catz needs to scramble his forces. He needs a lot of units to defend against this. He's making about 10 Corruptors, guys. And I do like that. He will need more Broodlords. He has the minerals and the gas to make Broodlords. Corruptors, though, being sent in first before morphing out. He needs to defend right here, because if he loses this Natural and this Greater Spire, that is going to be a huge, huge problem for Catz in the long term of this game, which at this point, it's already 23 minutes in. It looks like, though, Catz may be able to defend. He's got a ton of Hydras. He's got enough Corruptors. He picks off the last Colossus, and he needs ground units right now. He's actually pulling drones off the line to fight against the Immortals, and I think he will just have enough to take this out. If we pull up the income tab, what kind of damage did Catz incur? He lost, I don't know if he lost too many workers, but here's the real problem. He lost this hatchery down here, and that's pretty much the big problem. And basically both of the players traded their armies for that, so I think Axslav came out ahead. But right now, here's the thing. I feel that Catz should move out. He has what I feel to be the more superior army with all of these Broodlords. If he moves out right now, he may be able to pick off Axslav, as Axslav is struggling to rebuild his lost army. But yeah, if we look at both players' army tabs, both of them are at 150 apiece, but these Broodlords are such heavy hitters. And Axslav right now really doesn't have any anti-air whatsoever. He does have Stargate, but he's not really making any air units, as you guys can see right there. He's still focusing on Colossus. He's actually got a Warp Prism and Gravitic boosters coming out, which I believe is an upgrade for the Warp Prism. So this is very interesting. Now Overseers just drop pooping Changelings out. So hey, going out for a scout. All right, cool. So those Changelings are going to go out there to do some scouting duty, as Catz realizing, okay, I have to push now. I have to do damage. He's going to start to move in with his Broodlords to do some damage. Changelings here, what are they going to do? I really have no idea what he was thinking about that. I thought maybe he was just going to try to block off the ramp, but Stalkers can obviously blink around that, and that's not really going to do much. But anyways, Broodlords coming up. The Stalkers blinking underneath to try to pick off the Broodlords, but Roaches and Hydras already underneath to defend, and a Storm getting laid down. That is huge. How many more Storms are left? There's only 1 Templar there, so I don't think we're going to see any more Storm. And oh my god, Axslav may have enough Stalkers to pick off the Broodlords. 4 more Stalkers, 5 more Stalkers being warped in, and that is enough Stalkers, ladies and gentlemen, to, to pick off the remaining amount of Broodlords as more Colossus continue to pour out. And oh no, Catz may have just lost this game. Going for Broodlords, it was a very close game, certainly, but unfortunately Catz just wasn't able to protect those Broodlords from the Stalkers, and there's just too many Stalkers. And look at the upgrades on these Stalkers, ladies and gentlemen. 2 armor, 3 weapons. That's huge. That gives them a total of 3 armor because they have 1 inherently, and they do 17 damage versus armored. And those Brute Lords are in fact armored in the air. So, oh my god, the force right now for Axslav is just huge. 197 supply to the measly 157, and Catz now may actually lose this game. Game number 2, fought quite valiantly, but at the end of the day, just was not able to hold his own against this massive Protoss death ball. And I think we are going to be looking at a pretty close GG here for Catz. He's got Roaches kind of burrowed, trying to do something, but unfortunately, Roaches, even though they're burrowed, I mean, I'm quite certain there's an observer somewhere in this army. Yeah, there's one right there. I just want to call attention to the macro of Axslav as well. He's got 1 base here, 1 base here. He's just got bases everywhere, guys, as he's moving this Protoss ball to commit to pretty much drill the final nail through the coffin to close the chapter on this series and to advance on to the round of 8. The Roaches are actually moving in here. Observer does see them, so I don't know. What are these Roaches doing? Finally unfurling and picking off some of the... Oh no, they were not even able to pick off a single Colossus. 3 of the Colossus getting weakened down to the very, very near red. And Catz calling GG, giving respect to Axslav, who both of these players obviously extremely talented, and that was a high level game of StarCraft 2. An amazing game played by Axslav. He will advance forward to the round of 8 in the HD World Tournament. Give it up for Axslav, guys. I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. This is HD. I'm signing out. I'm going to be going on to another game today, though. I will do 2 series tonight, and I will try to do a daily ladder very, very soon. So thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in. This is HD, signing out.